Turn the microphones on, and very good evening. It's just a little bit after 7:05. I want to welcome you all to the Township Committee meeting for Bedminster Township, our regular meeting for March 21st, 2016. Our full committee is with us tonight, and can I have the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Yes, sir. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee with Bedford Courier News Somerville, Burnsville News Burnsville, for all subscribers. Also posted here at the Township Municipal Building as of January 14th, 2016.
I'll ask you to join in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have lots of minutes to review and approve tonight. We have the February 22nd executive session. We have the February 29th budget work session number 4 and the February 29th executive session. And we have the March 7th regular agenda meeting. Does anybody have any comments or questions on those minutes as proposed? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Permits and raffles, we've got a handful of those tonight. A raffle license will start out first. A raffle license for the Hunterdon Healthcare Foundation, May the 8th, 2016. Fiddler's Elbow Country Club, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on-premise 50/50. They also have a on-premise merchandise. We have a raffle license for the Commercial Real Estate Incorporated, June 8th, 2016. Fiddler's Elbow Country Club, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. on-premise merchandise and an off-premise 50/50. And we have a social affair permit that's also for the Hunterdon Healthcare Foundation, May the 18th. Fiddler's Elbow, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Fiddler's Elbow Country Club. And we'll take those to begin with. Any comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion for that group.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Now, we also have a request for a waiver of a permit fee. This is from BHHC. Judy, can you tell us what this is about?
Well, this is the first time we've received a waiver such as this since we've redone the ordinance. We kind of tweaked the ordinance, cleaned it up a little bit. There is a page out of the new ordinance in front of you that shows we do have certain allowances for certain waivers. BHHC recently purchased a property back at Sheriff's Sale that they are now refurbishing and putting back, will be put back out for sale again. So this is something that we, for the ordinance, we can waive the permit fees for this type of project.
John,
No, I saw this when I walked in the door, so I haven't had a chance to review it yet.
I gave you
If
the,
you give me a few minutes and circle back in a while.
gave you the ordinance just so, for that reason, because this is the first time we're doing this since we redid it. This has not been codified yet, so that's, I have the full ordinance if you'd like to see it.
I actually would not mind looking at the full ordinance.
What is the fee? What is the dollar amount we're looking at? Or is this a general?
It's for a water heater, right, in this case? The memo that we have, let's see, it should be right here. It looks like $104. Construction permit. Water heater.
Crap.
A memorandum from Sharon DeSico to Judy.
Oh, okay. Got the memo.
They're a 501c3, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. It's a 501c3. If you conclude that that's close enough to an agency or instrumentality of this municipality, then you can waive it.
Well, it all depends on how you view it, because it is a independent corporation, yet two of us that sit on this desk do sit on that board.
In enough of a gray area so you can make,
Yeah.
I'll leave it to you to make the call on that.
All right.
John, are you saying that because of, where the ordinance is drafted? It says, for any corporation which is organized pursuant to the New Jersey Nonprofit Corporation Act
And
actively.
in constructing and rehabilitating housing units, which that's for a different type of entity. But if you look at the exemption above under A, if it's a municipality or any agency or instrumentality thereof, then they're not required to pay. So if you reach a conclusion that it's essentially it was formed by the municipality to satisfy Mount Laurel obligations, so therefore two of you sit on it. If you decide that it's acting as a agency or instrumentality of the municipality, you could waive the fee.
So you're saying under A, it's not B or?
It's not fee.
Not.
No, those are state statutory exemptions that aren't pertinent.
You have A?
I do.
You know, Mayor, I guess from sitting on it over the years, on BHHC, I guess I would venture to say that while it is an independent corporation, it really is linked at the hip with the municipality, as far as the spending plan that we put forth for the developer fees and over the years, and trying to maintain the inventory of our low and moderate income stock. So I don't think it's a stretch to say that it falls under what John just talked about, a governmental entity.
No, but it is certainly different in that our COA money is not with us anymore, it's with them, and they're not part of us. So,
That is technically true.
and, but I think the greater view of this is not $104 today, it is that this is likely the precedent to be set forward. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't think $104 is gonna make a hill of beans in our budget, but the question is, what we decide here this evening is probably what we ought to be consistently deciding in the future when we get more of these. And we will get more of these, I would assume.
Judy, what's the timing on the activity?
I think the date is on the package I gave to John of the permit application. Construction came, in the past, fees were waived for many groups, and so construction pulled it and brought it to me, and they said, what about this? And I asked Sharon to write a letter. I said, it's the first time we're doing it since we redid
Is this something that's
the ordinance.
time sensitive?
Well,
for Sharon right now?
in front of me.
I don't think it's that time
Get the whole
sensitive that we couldn't delay it another.
Why don't we give John a little more time, so
Yeah.
maybe at the next meeting, we circle
Yeah.
back
That
to
may be a
this?
good,
That's fine.
because whatever we decide tonight is, we likely need to continue that policy, so maybe it's better than just a 2-minute
Thank you, John.
on.
Thank you.
And I think that's,
allow them to do the work and just hold the permit fee.
that sounds reasonable.
Yeah,
Do that.
so we determine whether it's owed or not. They could still do the work.
Yeah, that makes sense. John, is that something we can do?
Sure.
All right, I'd like a consensus from this body, if we'd like to allow that.
I think that's reasonable.
All righty.
If John tells us we can't do it, you know where their offices are.
All right, let's move forward. We do have some folks here tonight, and they've got a projector up, and we have a presentation from the Friends of the Jacobus Vanderveer House. And I will welcome you up to the microphone in front of you. The back of your head will be recorded on video, but your voice will be heard, so
All right.
please introduce yourself on the
Thank
audio
you.
portion of the recording.
Okay, my name is Robin Ray. I'm president of the Friends of the Jacobus Vanderveer House, and I'm also a resident here in Bedminster Township. And pass out information after
And I'm-
our presentation is in honor.
I'm Kurt Leisure with HMR Architects in Princeton.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity. We have some really exciting things happening at the Vanderveer House. I know several of you have actually served as our liaison over the years. A couple of you have not, so I just wanted to just quickly give you an overview of the Vanderveer House, that brown house that you see on the side of 202, 206, which now has a sign in front of it so everybody knows what it is. Several towns throughout Somerset County, everybody knows Somerset County is a hotbed for the American Revolution. Bedminster Township is no slouch. We actually contributed in a very significant way with the Pluckerman Military Academy, or cantonment as it's often referred to. And the Vanderveer House is actually built in 1772, is the last structure that's associated with that Pluckerman Military Academy. So that's the historical significance for the site. So the Friends, realizing the historical importance, have put together a plan to create a more meaningful experience and to better interpret the great work done by General Henry Knox, as well as the Vanderveer family and colonial life here in Somerset County as we know it. So next on our agenda is to, we've restored the house, we've added the kitchen wing to the house, and the next plan is to start to recreate the homestead that once existed, which included a Dutch barn, a carriage house, a privy, as well, which are the restrooms, as well as a barn and historic walkways. So last year we actually started launched a capital plan to hopefully realize our goal. And in doing so, we found out after, this was right after Colonial Christmas this year, about an amazing opportunity that has come our way. A member on our board actually brought to our attention a historic barn that sits in off of Old York Road on a private family home. There's a series of 7 outbuildings that are associated with this home, and the homeowner actually wants to remove 2 barns that currently exist. She wants to take them down and just get them off of her property. So what we did in December, we went out and took a look at this barn, and the size is completely appropriate for what we were looking to recreate on the site of the Vanderveer House. It has a similar footprint and size. It's an amazing shape, and half of the wall is missing on the one side, but overall the structural integrity is there, and we have an opportunity to apply for a grant, and we are just going to all the different organizations that we work with to tell about our plan and why we want to do this. The number one reason why we'd like to construct this barn, not only that it's an immediate need, but because all of the artifacts that were uncovered at the Pluckerman Military Academy they're all over the place. They're in Maryland, they're in Delaware, they're also in a storage facility in Bridgewater. And we'd like to be able to get all of those items together, not only to keep everything in one repository, but also so that we can return the collection to its actual home, which is here in Bedminster Township. So this barn would be an amazing structure to house the artifacts and all the historical documents that go along with it. There's approximately 2 pallets full of just documentation over the years since the 70s, since the various digs have occurred. So it'd be great to have this information all together in one place. So with that, I should let you know that we do have support of the homeowner. The homeowner is very interested in keeping the barn here in Somerset County rather than selling it to a barn company that could, sell it as a kit for someone to build a house in someday. What's unique about this barn is we were going to get a barn, but we would have to purchase it from a builder that gets these built kits and buy it from maybe Pennsylvania or upstate New York. But this is a barn that's here in Somerset County. It's a Dutch barn. It matches what we have exactly, same period, and it's so appropriate because it's Somerset County. And I think that is the big selling factor for the county itself for applying for this grant, that they really like that it's staying here and it's not being repurposed for a home someplace else. So with that, I just want to show you a couple of these. These are some of the artifacts that we're actually talking about. Just do me a favor and don't touch them, but you can look at the boxes. These, what I'm sharing is, I'll start on this side. These are sword belt tips that were found on up at the Buckner Military Academy. And they were actually at the bottom tip of this officer's belt. And it's the first representation of the American flag on an officer's uniform in a 5-3-5 pattern. So these were just actually sitting right on the surface up there. And we have them dated, and there was 2 others that were found. One was found by West Point, that dated about 6 years later than this one, and another one was found down in Virginia that also dated about 12 years later than this one. So it's very interesting that these are the types of things we're talking about. We want to keep the earth on display.
Great.
So
Remarkable shape.
I just want to share those with you, and then I'm going to go ahead and introduce Kurt, who is an architect from Hope Morgan and Russell, who we've worked with in the past at the Vanderveer House for the initial renovation. And
I wasn't involved with it, but earlier in the 2000s, we completed a preservation plan for the site, and one of the recommendations then was to reconstruct or erect a Dutch barn on the site to complete the farmstead. And then this fell in their lap, and in spite of, its apparent, its shabby condition on the exterior, what's really significant about the barn is the frame. We wouldn't be saving the siding and the roof anyway, but the frame, the significant part, is in very good condition. And I've seen a lot of barns of various types. What's very cool about this is these are the malpoles, which are still existing in barn. They were laid across the anchor beams and were storage for hay, and it allowed air to circulate around it, and they're still there in the barn. Just some other additional photographs of the interior. The roof is for the most part in good shape, which has kept the barn for the most part in good shape. Some examples of the Dutch framing, and these are the details that are really making this barn significant. This is a barn at Rockingham that we were involved with the reconstruction in recently, and it's provided a spectacular 3-season event space on their site. This similar interior would be what we'd be talking about for the barn at Vanderveer. Just some diagrams of typical Dutch framing, and all of these elements exist in the barn that we're talking about. It really falls into this type G category with the upper tie beam and diagonal braces at the upper tie beam. They're the malpoles, which to find those still intact in the barn is really remarkable. As I said, with the preservation plan, it was established and recommended to reconstruct the barn. That was further emphasized through the completion of archaeological survey completed by Hunter Research with the location of the barn here. And you can see it in this historic photograph. This is the landscape plan that again was completed by ETN Associates following that, which is similar to this plan here. Project summary. Right now we've submitted a certification of eligibility application to the New Jersey Historic Preservation Office. That's pending. We expect a letter from that soon. That's a requirement of the Somerset County grant application process. And then that grant would include successful funds for documenting the existing conditions of the barn, dismantling the barn, and then schematic design for the adaptive use at the new site. Then the next phase would be completing construction documents for Phase 1 and Phase 2 at the site. And again, we're just in the beginning proposal stages of these, but Phase 1 would be the reconstruction of the barn on a new foundation, siding and roof, kind of get the barn there in an envelope, and then Phase 2 would be the fit out with mechanical plumbing, finishes at the interior, that kind of thing. And then the goals for the project are to provide a four-season education, exhibit, and event space, provide income capability for the Friends to support their mission and ongoing preservation efforts at the site, and a large educational space for school groups and lectures, that kind of thing, which is currently they don't have on site at the Vanderveer House. So it would really be a boon for them to house larger groups. And then, as Robin discussed, space, workspace, and exhibit space for the Pluckerman cantonment artifacts, which are now currently in storage and not visible to the public. So this would be a great interpretive location for that collection.
How big is it going to be? How big do you project it to be? Size?
The barn?
Yeah.
Did you say 33?
Yeah, 33 by 51.
We haven't actually surveyed and measured it.
That's the
yet, but-
approximate
Okay,
size
that's
of
fine.
it.
What building codes apply in this kind of thing, just for my interest?
Well, it sort of depends locally. When we did Rockingham,
Yeah.
they treated it as a new building because it was a complete reconstruction. So any like the rehab subcode, we couldn't rely on that in that case. It depends. That was DCA reviewing that, so it kind of depends locally how we go with that.
It would look like, from what the pictures that you're showing, is that you're going to try to be able to utilize or retrieve as much of the beams and the structure of the existing barn, and then use that in the new barn.
Yes, yeah,
For
that's
structural
really.
purposes, not so much decorative, but
Oh yeah, it would be structural,
Yeah.
but so I mean that's the architectural significance of that barn. When you walk in that frame, it's really outstanding. And
And the
with
floor's all in place too.
a lot of the original threshing floor is intact. We would typically put down a new foundation and then new sill plates, and then the historic frame gets anchored down to the new sill plates. So, but yeah, none of the siding is salvageable.
It'll be 4 seasons.
Yeah, so that's another, Rockingham is 3-season, there's no insulation, none of that kind of thing, so we would have to introduce that outside of the barn frame in this case. And those, details that we have to work out.
Last week.
Yeah, last week, so I was initial look at it, and then it did provide a letter of support for the grant.
I'm just thinking down the road here, we might have another location for reorganization meetings.
Yeah. Right across the road, right?
So I don't know if we actually need a letter of support from the governing body to move forward with the grant. That was not articulated to me, but we've been just gathering them from the various different organizations. So we'd like your blessing to move forward with this grant application so that we could have a barn.
I have a long-term question, because what's on here is very interesting and very exciting, and the development of the site is, I understand the long-term goal, and I think it's something that Bedminster needs or should have. But who's going to care for this long-term? Once the grant is in place, it is in place, when this barn eventually needs to be painted and needs a new roof and needs upkeep, who's on the hook for that?
Well, I'm sure we're going to have to renegotiate our lease at some point.
That's a better answer. I guess my concern is the same issues that we had going forward a couple years ago when some of our other volunteer organizations came to us, expanding their mission, which is great. But with that expansion mission usually comes a logistical tale of care and feeding, and as we've just kind of completed a budget cycle, you're going to pay the piper later, and I think that's a concern. I think,
Well,
at least
right now,
for this board.
Every year, we've been growing, as you know, and we have a general operating support grant that we've been using for just, keeping our doors open, because according to the state, we're supposed to keep our doors open so many hours a year in order to maintain funding or to apply for funding. So it's kind of like the chicken before the egg, and it's one of these things that we've just been trying to do. We just hired somebody part-time to help us as a museum coordinator so that we can stay open more. If we stay open more, we start generating more revenue. If we have this barn structure, it becomes an interpretive center, a community resource, and it's also an income source for us. So hopefully we'll become more and more sustaining. I mean, that's the goal, is to be self-sustaining.
I don't know if this is appropriate for Judy or John, and probably neither one of us nobody has the lease in front of us, but is our lease specific to the structures that are there now, or is it just for the site in general? Because I guess my point is we could go forward as long as, in one man's opinion, is that any of these improvements are kind of considered to be outside of that lease.
I'd have to look at the lease.
Again, not as something I can...
I have a copy of the
we can
lease here, but we really weren't going to get into that.
No,
tonight.
yeah.
It is for the site, I think.
But I mean, the site, the entire property,
It's the property itself.
or is it for the building that exists?
First building, the way it was before the partition wall was put on,
Mhm.
and the property surrounding it.
Yeah.
So for example, the layout, where it identifies the property line, that's not the lease area. That's just the property line,
No, I have to
the
look.
dash line over here, labeled property line.
No, that's the lease area.
So the lease area,
This is the lease area. It goes from the cul-de-sac to the highway, and then you're looking at the north field by Cobb's. It's just where the grass line, where the grass gets higher.
and where,
And the hedgerow behind it, facing the park.
so on the west side, how far down does that line come down to where the dog run currently is?
So the dog runs are in here.
Yeah.
Neighborhood.
You know what the current driveway is?
Right.
It's just right, butts up where the fence is by the current driveway.
So can you do an
This
over?
is an old plan.
Okay.
That was done in 2007, when we were putting together our long-range strategic plan.
Mhm.
So now we have to do all of that work, and that's what this grant does. It helps us to apply for all the site work that needs
So
to be.
that
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 plan-
exhibit
That's in
is,
2011.
that's,
That was what, when we were going to the DEP for approval for River Road Park for the transitional areas, we put everything that we wanted at River Road Park on the map that went to the DEP for approval, and that's what went, and that's what was approved.
so as far as the location for these improvements,
That's probably more accurate.
that's more accurate.
Because that has, this was 2011, and that was Paul Ferrero's map with our stuff overlaid on top of it.
So we should disregard this.
Well, that's just, you put
gives-
that
it
here.
gives a
I don't
general
have the
idea.
full
Idea.
version of that, and that was just giving you a conceptual idea of the plan and how long that this has been in play. This is a long-term goal.
Well, I just want to, relative to the other facilities that are out at the park,
Mhm.
the dog run, the dog play out there, the loop, to see how these all interact. So that's more representative of what's being discussed, and also representative of today's site condition.
Correct, that's the actual driveway. The dog
that's the
park
loop.
is to the right, the white area to the right.
Yeah, this is the dog park over here. The dog runs right here right now. The dog run is, dog runs over here. This is the gravel driveway that we just put in at River Road Park a couple years ago. And then we turn around and we have that additional roadway where there's a post here with a chain that can go across. We use this for overflow parking for fall press and for the greenhouse events. And then the current driveway goes up this way, there's a small little cutout that people park once in a while for the dog park, that's the barn. And then this is the current turnaround that we have for the house. And then
Great.
Okay?
That's helpful.
All right. Sorry, I don't have a small one that I don't have large one.
If I could also offer to the committee that, as I reported last time, under Robin's leadership, there's a lot of exciting things going on. Both foot and web traffic have hit historic levels, and there are a lot of ideas to make this a true destination for people interested in the period. And, you know, in my opinion, given the other issues that we've discussed during budget and other meetings on how to make Bedminster more of a destination for our local businesses and to make it an attractive place to increase traffic. The plans here, viewed both in terms of the other marketing efforts that Robin and the trustees have planned to increase traffic, hopefully will have some spillover effect. You know, I could see people making a day of this and going to a local restaurant or using our shops and whatnot. So that doesn't directly answer the question as to whether or not we should be carrying the maintenance, but I do believe that this could be another feather in the cap of Bedminster as far as a great place to come and visit and get to know better by people outside of our town. I just think it's a very exciting period right now.
Well, I think if you look at places like Jockey Hollow or Foster Fields or some of the other historic destinations in the area, I can certainly see these plans bringing it to rival those, and I do. I think it's very exciting. I think it's a good thing for the town. But much like when your kids come up and say, "I want to buy a new car, Dad. I got my own money for it." And you say, well, that's fine, but you got to pay for the insurance, and if the transmission craps out on it, that's on you. We've gone through just yet another difficult budget cycle, and having yet another thing that won't be next year, and it won't be the year after, but there will be a future board here that will have to...
How might we dimensionalize the risk of that? I mean, what the upkeep might be for... Well, you know, is it the barn? Is it the whole property in terms of doing the landscaping? And it would be interesting to the extent that that's predictable, just to associate some numbers. I'm sure just within the framework of the Friends, we would want to anticipate budget needs, you know.
But some things you can anticipate and some things you don't.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
The current JVH has a heating and air conditioning system that at the time was not supposed to be touched for many years, and it didn't work out that way. And that, I don't think, is the fault of anybody within the JVH organization, but happened.
No, a true barn without a lot of improvements to it is a fairly, I mean, given what it's going to go through in the build phase, right, which presumably is a verification of integrity and all of that, would be a strong starting point where one would not anticipate major maintenance issues occurring within a few years,
true
right?
barn, but you know, this becomes a little more complicated of a barn with full mechanical systems and plumbing and all those sorts of things.
Temperature controlled areas
Okay.
downstairs for artifacts. There are a lot of money we have.
Better than my barn, right?
As it pertains to the lease, you know, Robin, last year there was some preliminary discussion on maybe revisiting the lease, that it wasn't really current with the division and the evolution of the JVH, and I think John might have even put together some numbers on some of the costs associated with the upkeep, the maintenance of general maintenance, roof, tree cutting, lawn cutting, fuel oil, things like that. So, you know, I don't see us doing really anything here without probably going back to looking at that whole lease arrangement, because I think it has to be, we talked about it last year being brought up to date.
We have
Yeah.
expires in June of 2024. It was a 25-year lease, so we have 8 years, left on that lease.
But we thought it was kind of obsolete in some respects, right?
Well,
you know.
I didn't, but you did.
Oh,
Well, we had
perhaps,
to address different.
perhaps without holding this project hostage to a lease renegotiation per
No, I
se.
don't mean that.
Perhaps
but,
what we could do is simply memorialize some sort of agreement that would say, going forward, these improvements would be considered outside of the lease for the
Well-
long-term care fee. I don't know if you can do that
Well, I think
without reading it. but-
without looking at the lease, it sounds like,
It's for the whole property. I mean, the map is cut off. I have another map in the other room, but it is for the whole property.
But
But
the-
support the idea and leave the other things for now.
what's the immediate ask of the township committee?
I just want to get your support to move forward with the grant application, essentially. We're trying to, this is just a grant application to apply for the funding to be able to disassemble the barn and do some of the schematics, the drawing, the planning stages for rebuilding the barn back on the Vanderveer House site. So it's going to take some private funding in addition to, obviously, in addition to this grant, but this is a pretty substantial size ask that we have with the county.
With the county.
Right.
So the ask of the township committee
It's
is
just
just
to
lending
support
its
us.
support for JVH to
Correct.
make the grant application.
Correct. We're not asking you to hold the grant.
So we're right
going to
now-
take care of everything ourselves.
And any land improvements, anything that's going to amend the lease, just as a normal consequence, is down the road.
Right.
So, you know,
Yeah.
if we don't
It's not a
if we don't
resolution
support the
pending.
grants, then there's nothing to discuss at all. So,
It makes me go ahead and-
well, they can go without the township support.
I'd like to.
I think we're there. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would second that.
When we have functions there, you're really limited at.
You are.
So something like Christmas, you're so limited. And we're learning, I think, a lot of people are learning a lot about that space, but not the other things.
I second it, yeah, with enthusiasm.
This would be for a letter of support, or?
Like I said, the only thing I would say is I would just like to see, again, I don't think it should be contingent on renegotiating the lease, because I don't think that's what we should be doing here. But I do think that it should be something memorialized saying that we would like to separate that out from,
Well, I think we
From
do
the
that
rest
at
of
the
the
time
property. when they get awarded the lease.
when
They get awarded the grant.
They get
Yeah,
the grant and
absolutely.
they say, okay, now we
Yeah.
want to put a new structure on.
Yeah.
That's the time to
That's fine.
release.
That's fine, because I do think it's exciting. I think it's something that they should be going forward with. Yep.
One in our laps. We can't, you know. It's an amazing opportunity, it really is. Very cool.
Well done.
So, Ms. Judy?
A sense of the committee, or do we need to vote? I don't know if there's anything in front of us.
Just directing me to put a letter of consent letter together, letter of
Letter of
support.
yeah.
I can circulate it to you all ahead of time, before providing.
We have a motion of
Your,
second.
her deadline is April 22nd, so.
Should it be a letter or a resolution? You know, what are they?
The application on Thursday, so we've been kind of going through it section by section. I don't have.
Well, if it-
Letter's probably easier.
Yeah,
I think a letter is just fine.
I know.
I think a letter is just fine. We've been getting
Okay,
letters from
that's fine.
everyone else.
All right. Okay, very good.
And we'll keep you informed of the plans all the way along.
Great.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Appreciate it.
Good luck with the grant.
Thanks.
Okay. We do this twice every meeting, and it usually at the beginning of the meeting, and we're still technically at the beginning of the meeting, even though we've just had quite a bit of discussion, but we open up that microphone up by that podium there to any member of the public that wishes to come forth to discuss anything that is not on tonight's agenda. Feel free to come forward. Seeing nobody stirring from their seats, I'm going to just move on then to monthly subcommittee reports. We'll start with Mr. Payne.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Two quick things. You did see an email that I sent out to you, Mayor, and to Judy that I CC'd you on to the director over at Habitat for Humanity, basically formally letting her know that at this time the consensus of the Township Committee was not to move forward with with any consideration for the sale of the property to them for lower housing. And I explained to her that there were some other alternatives that we were looking at for the property, but should that change, then we would certainly let her know. And she did reply, thanking me for, the clarification and letting her know where we stood on it. And the only other thing that I wanted to announce that was the next meeting of the Somerset County Governing Officials Association, which is April 13th, will be here in Bedminster, and it will be at Delicious Heights. And the speaker that evening is going to be George Handley. He is an attorney at Warner Lesniak. He is the founder of Welcome Home New Jersey Vets, which is an organization that assists New Jersey veterans with housing, legal issues, job placement. And his topic is going to be the establishment of a Veterans Court in New Jersey. And there is some legislation that's working its way through the legislature, establishment of a Veterans Court. And from what I understand, there's 37 other states have one in existence, and there's people that are pushing to have it done in New Jersey. So we'll learn more about that topic at the governing officials meeting.
What's the date?
That is April 13th. It's a Wednesday. Starts at 6:30. And that's it.
All right, thank you.
I had my JVH meeting last week. I think everybody got pretty well briefed. What Robin did not get to is really the richness of a proactivity in terms of increasing membership, the ideas and the technology and the skill of many of the new trustees is really extraordinary. So again, what we're seeing here is part of, I think, a very strategic effort to take JVH from somewhat of a curiosity for most and beloved by some into a much more visible museum of some repute. So it's an exciting time.
Very good. Mr. Jacobs.
Well, Mr. Mayor, we had the library board meeting last week, which the library director participated by conference call, but well done on his sabbatical. And went smoothly. Judy, we did raise the issue about the auditor's request. We'll discuss that a little bit later. Other than that, it was uneventful. That's it.
Very good. Ms. Santucci?
Thank you, Mayor. Last week we had our first presentation meeting. I saw freeholder director Tom Walsh last week. I asked her for assistance regarding the applicant burying ground signage. He got back to me a couple days later, basically, at their meeting. But she promised me that the resolution would be fine, and that she would find it out. So it proves that they have not employed by the people at this time. I explained to her one of the things that we do, and it's good that if you don't, it's come to me, go, we told her that we're fine, so we're still
That
trying.
they would have the sign
Ordered,
manufactured
delivered,
and ready.
So we're in March 21st. So I explained that that's in the time frame, but she's helping us with the tour of our open space area is going to be April 3rd. It's going to be at Town Hall, I believe it's Town Hall at 2 p.m. So if you'd like to participate,
What's the date again?
April 3rd at 2 p.m.
And for that meeting, you will have a brand-new member of the Open Space Committee, Ms. Tracy Terry, who, in her day job, does land conservancy, is going to be joining that committee. and she lives right around the corner here at Bedminster Village, so we're excited to have her on.
Yeah, that's our joint meeting with the environmental commission.
Great. In addition, Judy, myself, John Hance, Paul Ferraro met with NJDOT officials last week to discuss the matter of the mixing bowl. The project for the 287-78 interchange. The DOT has run into a difficulty. Just to quickly summarize it, the on-ramp, the new on-ramp that will be 287 north to 78 eastbound has to be moved a little bit. And in moving it to the southeast a little bit, it encroaches on a conservation easement. To get rid of that conservation easement, DEP and Green Acres requires you to replace it in kind. Well, more than in kind, and to a larger amount of land. So they came to us several weeks ago wondering if we had another piece of land that we could do such with. We said that we did not. We'd just gotten through a very large land preservation deal, but we did not have something in the hopper ready to go. We presented an alternative plan, which was hoping that DOT would help us out with the hike and bike path funding. There was a Green Acres representative there the other day, and she said, "What year was that? Yeah, that was done with a bond." No, that's specifically not allowed under the grant provisions, or under the bond provisions for preserving that land. But there may be another option. There may be another piece of land that might be preserved, and we're hoping that perhaps there might also be a grant coming for a portion of some of our park improvements. So that's the short answer, but we'll see. It is by no means definitive, so we'll find out in the coming days. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Sullivan for the administrator's report. I know that it's been an eventful week.
Yes, my report is late. It's in front of you, briefly. I'll turn this over to Mr. Mance in a minute. Thursday night, I guess around 11:30, we had a sewer line emergency up in front of Delicious Heights, and I'll let John give you a little summary of what happened, and then I'll let you know what we need to do about it. So,
I was notified by the Somerset County dispatch that the Delicious Heights had a sewer blockage, and there was a contractor on site that had trying to clean out the line. He got his snake in the line about 200 and some odd feet, couldn't get it clear. That's when they called me, went and took a look, found that there was not a blockage that I could at least see. I did look in the manholes and make sure there was nothing surcharged, made some contacts through one of my contractors for a jet back. They didn't send a jet back, but they sent a jetter the following morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning, to try to clear the line. Jetted the line, and he couldn't get through it. Made a phone call to Keepack Gladstone Road Department, asked for their assistance. They came down with a camera. They also came down with a jetter truck that they happened to have in their town working for them. We jetted the line. He broke through the blockage, but in breaking through the blockage, there was a lot of debris that came down through. TV'd the line. Couldn't get through from the north side, from the Bedminster Terrace side down Hillside Avenue. Couldn't get through that, so we TV'd the line going up, so there's a blockage. Long short is, contacted a local contractor from Burnsville. They came over about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. By 5:30 or so, they were digging the road. In the first part of digging the road, they jackhammered the section that they thought was an area. They had to make it big enough for their trench box because of the depth of the pipe. When they jackhammered, there was a void that was underneath the roadway, probably in the neighborhood of 5 feet wide, 6 feet long, and about 6 feet deep. So there was no earth underneath the blacktop, which was amazing to me because I don't know where it all went.
Is that-
Into the sewer system.
That was which road? Bedminster Terrace or Hillside?
No, it was actually at the intersection right there of Lamington Road and Hillside Avenue and 202.
Oh, my.
So it's right in dead center of the intersection for the most part. Couldn't be. No. What it turned out to be is the sewer pipe itself probably had deteriorated to a point that something broke through the pipe and allowed all the material. The material itself is not virgin material. It is select fill. It was probably filled when the sewer line was put in as a result of either DOT request or the conditions as it was. It was back in the 70s that the sewer line was put in. So it's sandy material. So there was absolutely nothing left in there. It's a giant void is what it was. So it took the contractor the better part of the evening, and we finally got it completed, at least the repair completed, at approximately 11:30 on Friday evening. And that's kind of like where we're standing at this point in time. So the blockage has been removed, a repair has been made, but there's going to be needs to be some further investigation and probably some further work on that section of pipe. So there's a considerable amount of hydrogen sulfide damage to the pipe. I think that's what caused a lot of that. It's just the natural deterioration of the pipe through the sulfur and hydrogen and everything that's in the sewer system. So we've had some problems in that area with some grease before, and we've alleviated a lot of those before with just some cleanings. But as the contractor told me, some of those cleanings actually, when you're doing that through the type of pipe that it is, it actually removes a little bit of the pipe itself as you're doing it, which is some of the problem.
So the repair that's been made, the repair that's actually in the intersection,
Correct.
is that a permanent repair or a temporary repair?
Permanent in the sense that I don't know when we're going to get to do something more permanent. It's permanent probably for years.
Okay.
I still need to do the technical portion of that. It's a drop manhole. So what you're doing is you're taking the elevation and just leveling it out a little bit. So what you're doing is you're actually bringing the sewer line into the manhole, but it doesn't go into the top of the manhole. It actually drops into a pipe outside the manhole and then into the bottom of the manhole, so that you don't get splash of material, the sludge and everything from the sewer inside the manhole. It's a design. So we have to create an interior drop for that to occur, so that we don't end up with stuff all over the place.
And what is your opinion on, you saw the void in there, is there more that we don't know about? Or that we might know about but don't know where?
That's a good question. We don't know that. It was very uneasy for me to see what I saw. I couldn't believe what I was actually seeing at that point in time. Now, the good part is that this was done in the 70s. It's getting older, so there's possibilities that these could exist even further. When the sewer lines were put in the 70s, there was some blasting that had to be done because of the soils that were up there. It was all shale. But who knows?
But also, in your opinion, does the fact that there's a restaurant with grease waste contribute to the wear and tear on it? In other words, is the wear and tear more unique at that portion than it is, say, upstream in the residential area?
Grease is never a good thing within the sewer system. That's why we introduced these grease trap inspections through the Board of Health.
Right.
which would, obligate the restaurant owners to make sure that the grease traps are working properly, because the grease does create a bit of a problem. Is it a factor? I'm not an expert, but from what I've heard in the past from experts, yes, it is a problem. It has been a problem for years. Is it the contributing factor of what happened? I can't confirm that at this point in time. There are other other restaurants that put grease into the system. That's probably the most at this point in time. So the long and short of it is, we had to do an emergency repair. Kept Judy in the loop for the most part all the way through the day. The funding, I believe she's going to talk about within the budget in a few minutes. We don't know the extent of what that repair is actually going to cost us. I gave her an estimate, which is probably rather high to start with. So I think we're probably in the neighborhood between 10 and 30,000 for that, with all the inclusive pieces that go in the puzzle.
Did you save the damaged pipe?
No, there was nothing to save.
There was nothing to save?
No.
So what was the size of the pipe?
It's an 8-inch pipe, and it's
8-inch
and it's an asbestos, what do they call it? It's an asbestos concrete pipe for the most part. I don't know terminology on that one,
Yeah, so it kind of looks like it's fabric covered in concrete.
but it's not fabric covered, but there's small sections that are just
It's like a
pushed together.
transite tile.
It's very much like transite.
So, what you saw was it corroded, or essentially at the top, or was it at the bottom?
It is, well, we couldn't tell. And the problem is, there's other problems within that sewer line between the two manholes that we're talking about. There's one just up the street from Delicious Heights going towards Bedminster Terrace. That's the upper. That's where they tried the TV to the line first. And PPAC put a camera down through there. They got about 130 feet in. And because of the way that the piping has moved over the years, you have joints that come up and concave. And they actually got hung up on some of those joints, because they are so much that it didn't allow for the camera, which the camera is about 2.5 feet long. It's on like little tracks that make the thing move. So they got hung up, so they had to pull it back. So we couldn't get in. What we would like to have done is got all the way down. Unfortunately, couldn't do it. We had to shoot from the bottom up. At that point in time, that's where the breakage was about 6 feet into the pipe. Rubber gaskets and everything were hanging in there. So.
And the sewer connection from Delicious Heights is on Hillside Avenue.
Yes.
It's not on Lavington.
Correct.
And the breakage was downstream of that connection.
Correct.
Any who actually asserts authority over whether or not they're complying with their effluent or their discharge requirements?
They do that through the Board of Health.
Board of Health.
Does an inspection. The sewer utility requires them to do an annual inspection of it and give the results of that inspection.
Have to give a certification annually that everything is working properly.
And so in that manhole, there's no accumulation of grease or of any other...
You can see some signs of some grease and whatever.
Every year we do a cleaning, a deck cleaning, 1/3 of the system every year, but that intersection is done primarily almost every year. And it's actually, I sent out an invitation to wet water because probably have some other work to do, maybe keep it in line, down and do whatever repairs may be needed. It may not be done yet.
Inside that structure itself and in the intersection, the rungs that you're supposed to climb down on actually fell apart when somebody actually stepped on it. We actually had to set up a tripod, and lower an employee down in there, not one of mine, but one of PPAC's employees to finish what we needed to start. So,
Well, I saw John and his team out there that around 8:30 or
Yep.
earlier that morning, and saw John out there about 8:30 at night. So it was a long day for John Mance and Mr. DPW, and also thank you to folks at PPAC. That's
yeah, that's the true sense of the shared service. That's what, we do.
So that's the bad news. The bad news being, we did a lot of repairs. We may not be done yet. We may have more to do. We had, the police were out there directing traffic. John's guys were out there on overtime. PPAC came over with their crew. We brought in a construction company. We had our whitewater company out there. We had a lot of different people helping. I don't know what all the bills are going to amount to. So Debbie Stern, the CFO, and I got on the phone with the auditor Friday, and he said, the timing of this is terrible, since we're introducing the budget on Monday, and all the documents were done Thursday afternoon. We tied it all up in a bow. The budget was ready to go. Friday morning, I call him and say, oh, we have a little change. So what he suggested we do is called an emergency authorization that you do after the introduction of your budget, because the money to make the repair is not currently in the budget. The good news is the sewer utility has sufficient surplus to pay for the repairs. So what we need to do this evening, and you'll see it coming up in the agenda, is a resolution giving authorization for the sewer utility to make the required repairs and the project, whatever that might entail. We don't know the total cost. The auditor suggested we get an estimate. John was saying 30, maybe 40,000. He said at least double it, if not triple it, just so that you know you have enough money to fix whatever it is you're going to need to fix for this. So I took John's estimate. I made it $100,000. Is that what we're going to spend? No, that's way more than we need. But we have the authority to use that money. Once we have a real idea of what the costs are, we will then introduce a capital ordinance from the sewer utility for the actual amount of the project, and then that money will be transferred over to the sewer utility budget to reimburse out of the sewer surplus. So it doesn't impact the municipal budget at all.
at all. So, I mean, I just want to be clear, so,
Not-
some of the way you were discussing,
Not at all.
it was almost as if that the township was
No.
reimbursing.
No, so the money is being funded totally through the sewer utility, police overtime, John's overtime, costs from PPAC, costs for everything, funded through the sewer utility. And you're giving me authorization for up to $100,000 in the sewer budget for that, which will be brought over from the surplus from the sewer utility, which is close to $2 million in surplus. So we have the money. So that's where we are.
Just seem to recall at that intersection, there was a similar major incident with Willie's Tavern in either 98 or 99. If you go back and look at your files involving grease and blockages and jetting and everything else.
In the past, they have more been grease-related than to a collapse of this type. But yes, we've had a lot of problems here.
We've had blockages before in that general area with just grease, and that's all I was hoping for, was just a grease amount goes in there that
Yeah, you had-
get through.
You had it with at the post office site in the past year, I think.
Well, that was,
We had that,
But that was a little further downstream.
Right.
we actually pulled that manhole today to take a look at, just to get an eyeball on that one, and there was grease in that little 4-inch main also. So there's some issues, right?
Yeah, I know in 98 and 99, I think you charged them back on that if you go back and look at your file.
Do the other restaurants kind of feed into the same
it all,
area?
yeah, it all kind of goes.
Because you got they got 2 other restaurants there too.
That's why it's a problem there. So that's what's coming up for resolution in a little bit.
All right.
So that was item number 1. When we get to the introduction of the budget, I also have just some high points of the budget. I'm not planning on going into a lot of detail for the budget this evening. We'll do that at the budget public hearing, which will be, hopefully, if the state gets back to us in a timely way, at the April 18th meeting. but I'll give you a quick summary when we get to that.
Okay. Ordinances. We have one ordinance to introduce tonight, and that is ordinance 2016-003. And during the budget cycle, we do this. It's an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limit and to establish a cap bank. It isn't exactly what it sounds like. What it actually is that we have our 2% cap and all the exclusions that are involved with that. If you do better than that, if you do not go to 2% for various things, you can establish a bank so that in a rainy day or in a rainy year, you can exceed the 2%. In other words, if you've been under 2% for a certain amount of year, you can bank that savings in case you need it for a rough year. In fact, one of the things that I didn't fail to mention was I was at the school board meeting the other night as they were finishing up their budget. It looks like they're going to go right to cap. One of the things that they were lamenting the other night was they did not have any bank left, meaning that the best they can do is go to their 2% with their exceptions. This is an ordinance to put some more bank in the bank.
A couple years ago, we did use
it, yeah, oh yeah.
bank. It's a great thing to have.
So, any comments or questions? And if not, I'll take a motion to introduce ordinance 2016-003.
Motion to introduce ordinance 003.
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci? Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, and this public hearing for this ordinance is scheduled for Monday, April 4th, 2016, 7 p.m. in these chambers. Public hearing of ordinances, we don't have any. Consent agenda, do we have anything on the consent agenda?
No, sir.
We'll go right to resolutions, and we have several resolutions on here. We'll save the first one till the end.
Okay.
So we'll let Judy have a chance to talk about the budget briefly, but in greater length. So let's start with 2016-038. That's authorizing the mayor and the township clerk to renew an interlocal agreement between the Township of Bedminster and the Borough of Peapack and Gladstone for senior van service. Remember, we talked about this a little bit last fall. Judy, if you want to catch us up on where we're at with that.
A very quick story. We had, at the end of last year, we had 2 riders from Peapack Gladstone taking part in our program. Very happy, very satisfied. We were billing Peapack. It was working well. They were 2 sisters. Unfortunately, they both passed away earlier this year. So when it came time to renew the agreement, we didn't have any more interest. So we weren't in a hurry to renew everything. Last month, we suddenly got a wave of Peapack seniors that were now interested in the program. So I reached out to Peapack and I said, well, it looks like we do need to renew our agreement, and so that's what this is. The agreement says it's retroactive back to January 1. We haven't had any Peapack riders until just recently. So this would renew at the same rate. It still covers all our expenses and it's working well.
Any comments or questions? Now I'll take a motion.
Second.
Again, roll call vote. Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci? Mayor Parker?
Aye. Resolution 2016-039, that is a professional services resolution, or professional service based upon a hearing officer we've had for a recent disciplinary action. Anybody have any comments or questions?
This is just an extension of the previous contract that we had. We thought we might be heading one way, but now we will be continuing. So there's still a need.
Any comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Again, roll call vote. Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci? Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution 2016-040, authorizing the release of special escrow funds, the amount of $4,208.50. Any comments or questions?
What was the special escrow for? Was this, was it planning board?
Yeah, it was. It relates back to, all the way back to the old subdivision
It's
application.
really old.
Paul Ferrero signed off on it, so there's no need for the escrow.
It's always good to give escrow back.
It's really old, yes.
If not, we'll take a motion.
So moved?
Second.
Again, roll call vote. Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci? Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution 2016-041. This is authorizing the refund of tax overpayments, I believe $1,138.51. Any comments or questions?
Nope.
We'll take a motion then.
So moved?
Second.
Roll call vote. Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci? Mayor Parker?
Aye. As Judy mentioned earlier, Resolution 2016-042 is authorizing an emergency appropriation in the Sewer Utility Operating Fund in the amount of $100,000. Anybody have any further questions on that? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved? Second?
Roll call vote again. Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci? Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you. Just a quick note, it does say, emergency appropriation shall be provided for in full in the 2017 budget, but this will be completed this year out of the surplus from the sewer utility and replaced, so we don't need to raise it in next year's budget, probably.
All right. 2016-043, authorizing the refund of tax overpayment for two residents. One is in the amount of $788.22, and the other is $1,256.74. Any comments or questions? And if not, I'll take a motion.
So moved? Second?
And roll call vote again. Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye. And finally, we will go to the top of the list. 2016-037. This is the introduction of the 2016 municipal budget. Public hearing is scheduled for April 18th, 7 p.m. And Ms. Sullivan, I'll let you...
Well, there is a resolution in front of you, which was not in your books. It's the actual notice that will go in the paper. Officially, we're supposed to just read that, if you would be so kind.
Okay, the municipal budget of the Township of Bedminster, County of Somerset, fiscal year 2016. Be it resolved that the following statements of revenues and appropriations shall constitute the municipal budget for the year, that would be the current year 2016. Be it further resolved that said budget be published in the Bernardsville News in the issue of April 7th, 2016. Governing body of the Township of Bedminster does hereby approve the following as the budget for the current year. Notice is hereby given that the budget and tax resolution approved by the governing body of the Township of Bedminster, County of Somerset, on March 21st, 2016. A hearing on the budget and tax resolution will be held at the Township Municipal Building on April 18th, 2016, 7 p.m., at which time and place objections to said budget and tax resolution for the year 2016, current year, may be presented by taxpayers and other interested parties.
Now, in front of you on the dais are two documents, one being the full budget document, and which you just read the resolution to introduce. The other is called the user-friendly budget, which is something new that came about last year. The full budget document is rather difficult to follow for just the regular resident to look at, although always posted on our website. So that budget will be posted on our website, but the user-friendly breaks it down in a little bit easier terms for someone to follow for totals and things. When you're looking for, what's the cost of the employees, what's the cost of benefits, what's the cost of the capital budget, you can find it very easily in the user-friendly budget. Both those documents, however, will be posted on the website starting tomorrow. Some of the highlights of that budget, and as you're all very familiar with, but since we have a reporter here from the newspaper, just in brief, budget coming in this year at $10,929,126. And Jake, I'll give this to you in a document so you can have it. It's an increase of about $205,000 over last year. We have received additional revenues this year, so the amount to be raised by taxes will increase only by about $90,431, which is a 1.24% increase over 2015 in the amount to be raised by taxation. The big increase 2016 is our capital budget, increased about $111,000 last year. And the biggest savings can be attributed to our new shared municipal court with Peapack Gladstone, and now we've expanded that to include also Bernardsville. So in 2015, between the two towns of Peapack and Bedminster, we saved about $150,000. And then this year, we hope to save an additional $65,000 between the three towns. So that's the biggest savings. The municipal rate, the open space rate, and the library tax rate I have for you this evening. The county rate and the school rate are still yet to be finalized. But the municipal tax rate is 0.27 cents per $100 of assessed value. Open space tax, as you know, is 0.015 per $100 of assessed value, and the library rate is 3.4 cents per $100 of assessed value. So that brings the total municipal part of the tax rate 31.9 cents per $100 of assessed value. In 2015, it was 32.1 cents. So we actually went down in the tax rate. But I must remind everyone that the assessed values, properties for residential properties, did increase this year by an average of 3.76%. So at the end of the day, the average assessed home is going to see about $1,400 in local taxes, which is up about $20 over last year. So that's a brief summary of what we're looking at in our budget. As I said, I'll have a more complete presentation at the public hearing on the 18th of April. Any questions, or I'm going to give this to Jake.
Nope, I know this body worked very hard and looked at absolutely everything we could yet again, and I do also want to thank especially Judy and also our department heads, because I think everybody on the whole staff, as we do every year, sharpened the pencils and looked at absolutely everything, and it doesn't get any better year to year, and as our commercial ratables continue to decline and the property, the residential property ratables increase, yet again, most of the burden is continuing to shift from the commercial entities to the residences. So no matter how tight we are, the taxes are going up. Can I get a motion for Resolution 2016-037?
So moved.
Roll call vote again. Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Approval of the bill list. I'll take a motion to approve the bill list pending the approval of individual invoices.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay.
Roll call vote. Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Oh, discussion items. New business, old business. Does anybody have any new business before we move to old business? Hearing none, let's work towards the pony farm. Has anybody heard anything in the previous 2 weeks from our friends at Purnell? Okay.
Purnell School has gone to the site a couple times and some evaluations have not been done. They're very interested in the project.
Okay. We also have a request for the Clarence Dillon Public Library. Has there been anything happen on that?
Judy, do we have anything from Vishant?
I gave it to you at the last meeting, his report. I haven't heard anything back from, the library. I know Sandy's away.
If you can just set up a quick meeting for Ken and I and you and Michelle and Carl to get together.
Oh, sure.
Okay. We also have the Verizon Wireless request for a consent of a right-of-way.
Mayor, since my firm does some legal work for Verizon, I'm going to recuse and remove myself on this.
So let the record show that Mr. Bellardo is leaving the dais at this time. And I'm not sure, Judy, if we've really anything's...
So why this
Meant
is
since
on the
then.
agenda, since Mr. Bellardo notified me that he's stepping away from this project. What I need to know from you as the Township Committee, if you'd like to have another attorney assigned to this, you have the authority to do that. This only just happened just recently that Mr. Bellardo realized that he had to step away. I have reached out to some of the other towns in Somerset County. I'm looking for some input from other towns. Has anybody else done this already? You have some information before you with a draft resolution that was brought to us from Verizon.
I remember there was a request for a blanket agreement, and now we're doing a site specific. That was in the final for specific.
It was suggested that we look at it to do them individually. I don't know that we're there yet. I don't think that really is stipulated in the resolution the way it's written.
It's my understanding that Bernard's retained Jonathan Drill as special counsel.
I believe just recently, yes. I just spoke to Bruce MacArthur, their administrator, at a meeting about 2 weeks ago, and they hadn't done so yet, but they were looking for someone, so they may have just done that.
Right, it's my understanding that Attorney Drill has experience in this, and my recommendation would be to retain him as soon as possible and to engage with Verizon Wireless.
Absolutely. Or certainly get more information on the subject, and perhaps that's where we can get it from.
I've had representatives from Verizon reach out to me in a couple of emails wanting to know what the status was. The latest one was this morning, and I told them that we did have a meeting tonight. I was looking for some authorization of how you wanted to move forward. I think they did send a representative if there were questions, so...
Do you have anything you wish to say, sir? Please step to the microphone. I think the one up there, I think that's the one that's top.
Yeah, that one's on.
The one by the dais there.
Either one.
The wireless one. Oh, they're both. Identify yourself for the audio recording.
Yes, good evening. My name is James Lasky. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Morris McLaughlin in Bridgewater. I'm here tonight on behalf of Verizon Wireless. As you may recall, this request has been pending since November, and we were having some conversation, and now that's had to be needs to be resumed. We have approvals in the county so far from both Warren Township and Boundbrook. The only other town in the county where we're still pending is Franklin Township. So we are hopeful that the township here will be prepared to move ahead on this fairly quickly. I'm available at any time. If you choose tonight to hire this other attorney, we're certainly happy to work with him. We didn't view it as a terribly complicated issue, but we're happy to have any conversation on any question that you think you might have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, Judy, let's see, for our next meeting, hopefully we'll have a little bit more. Maybe we'll hear, we'll be able to
So
arrange
I'll
for
reach
the...
out to this firm and
Yep.
get something for the next one.
Okay. All right.
Want to let John know that he can...
Oh, yeah, somebody let him know.
John?
Oh, he can't hear us. He's out in the
I
sound,
can
in the soundproof booth out
I
there.
can be louder.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Oh, he showed up.
For the record, Mr. Bellardo is stepping back into the room. And as we do each meeting, twice, we open the mic up to public comment. So if there's anyone that has anything they wish to say, step up to the microphone and be heard. Seeing none, we will move to Township Committee comments, and we'll start with Mr. Payne.
Nothing further tonight, Mayor.
Nothing further, Mayor?
Thank you.
Nothing further, Mayor.
We do have an executive session tonight, a brief executive session. I don't believe there's anything that comes out of this executive session that will be acted on afterwards. I have nothing further to say, so I'll take a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
See you inside. Microphones are coming back on.
Right, hold on.
I am, oh, turn things on. We're back at 9:15. We're out of executive session. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
No.